Right, back live with you tonight on In Focus, and thanks for staying with us. As part of the Women's Day celebrations, we turn our focus now into women in business. We're specifically looking at a historically patriarchal environment and how women manage conflict in positions of authority. For more on this conversation, we're joined in studio by business coach and mentor Bathabile Moreki, and on our Zoom link, we have the CEO of the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, Zinhle Tyikwe. Ladies, good evening and happy Women's Day, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Tabumzuli. It's good to be here.
Zinhle, let's start with you. I mean, nearly half of South African women are out of the labor force. If the 2022 numbers are anything to go by in South Africa, the labor force participation rate for women in quarter 2 of 2022 is 53%. But when you turn and then you look at women and what they constitute as far as directors sitting on boards of listed companies in South Africa, 22%, and under 10% are at the executive level in companies. Seeing those kinds of numbers, and of course, the rest of us celebrate. We see a CEO, woman CEO, and whatnot, and we're seeing more of that. Is the corporate world doing well in tackling gender equality?
Thank you, Thabo, and good evening to your listeners, and as well as Bathabile in studio, and apologies for not being able to join you. I think as women in general, not just Black South African women or women in general, we are really having to break that glass ceiling that is in the corporate sector, because we have to work 3 times, 4 times harder than in our male counterparts. So we are, from the role that I do as I represent the industry with the FMCG sector, we do work with the Department of Labor, and we were part of the consultations with the employment equity sectoral targets. And the focus, yes, is on women, but there is that shift even from a government perspective, because if you look from a BEE, women we're uplifted. Now you have an employment equity regulation that is going to be coming into law. Now women are now not being elevated as well. They are again below the African males. So it is such a big battle that we have to fight as women. We have to make sure that you represent and you show up each time better than anybody else in the room. Yeah,
just judging by the sound of your voice and how you started, how stubborn the glass ceiling is, do you find it burdensome that you are the one who's always, when I'm saying you, I'm saying as a woman, who's always got to make your case for something that should be obvious, equity to everyone?
I think it's unconscious biasness that is in the corporate sector. It's not obvious. I think it's not obvious to everybody else. I think we all hear, and we as well as women, when we are already in the room, we kind of forget that we have a responsibility to bring the ones behind us, so that we make sure that the doors is open and we provide those opportunities. So it's really important that we do that, and we forget our womanhood. When you get to the public sector, politics in the private sector or any corporate environment, we forget that we are women. Why are we here? Because of our womanhood and our capabilities and that we can lead. But I totally believe that women are better leaders in any environment, because we are able to be empathetic to people and be able to bring people into your understanding of what is it that you want to achieve. So I think in my personal view, in my organization in our organization that I'm leading a number of strong women who, and I always say to my colleagues, it's such a wonderful thing when you are leading leaders, because that is such even a difficult task for you, because you have to show up, you have to elevate yourself. You're leading individuals that are experts in their own right, that could be CEOs and executives in their own right. So we need to give women opportunities such as that.
We want to hear a little more how you disrupt the South African workplace, but also how you foster gender parity in your profession. But let's bring Bathabile in here. Corporate South Africa, stubborn animal, this one, in terms of cracking the ceiling, they say, right? Seeing more and more women serving in high-ranking positions, at least from the outside, it looks like South Africa in the corporate space is doing well in tackling gender inequality. Would you share that sentiment?
Yes, I do share the same sentiment to say in corporate world, there's structures, and then you come to business, there's no formal structure that's supporting the women enough. We are not saying there's not support, but supporting women enough, because as women in business, we are like how we are judged in terms of, can you do this business? With our male counterparts, the requirements are the same. But remember, women, we didn't get the same foundation as the male counterparts. You know, we want to get women into transportation, we want to get women in mining and other industries. But the reality is that how many women have missed school, formal school, because of nature, you know. So we don't take that into consideration to say, can we give women a little support? Because in corporate, we've got a lot. But in women in business, there's few. We do acknowledge a lot of initiatives. Like today, we saw wonderful initiative from Sasol Mining, where they're saying now we're even dedicating funding that can be accessed by women. Yes. We saw the NEF doing the same today. So it's good initiatives, but if we can see more corporate coming on board, you know, partnering and just giving women that, you know, a little bit push to say, come here, let's just nurture you so that you can meet all the requirements. Because we know women, once you give them the opportunity, they will be able to flourish. Yeah. We cannot argue there.
You're saying, is there something that we could do through policy that could possibly be a practical way in which we address the patriarchal indirectly, as Zinhle was saying, attitudes that prevent women from entrepreneurial endeavors?
Definitely, and not only look into the last stage where you do now the scoring on the tender tender programs, you know, but just from the mentorship side. When you apply for mentorship, as women business, we apply with male counterparts. The requirements are the same. There's nothing extraordinary for the female, you know, entrepreneurs. But we do know that female entrepreneurs, we still need that support. You know, we've got a lot of responsibility. Remember, a female entrepreneur does not only carry that head of running a business like our male counterparts. Our male counterparts can do meetings up until 10 p.m. But as a female entrepreneur, unfortunately, we don't have the same luxury or the same tools as the male counterpart. So we cannot now start arguing to say, but you should have arranged a helper to stay with your child. Some they don't have the luxury support that other women entrepreneurs do have. You know, so there's no any support, to be honest, on the female entrepreneurs like we do have in other corporate facilities.
Yeah. Zinhle, how do you foster gender parity in your profession, where you are? How are you disrupting the workplace?
Yeah. See, there's generally roles that are gender-based, especially I can understand from Bathabile's perspective that the technical industries, there will be those roles that are designed or by design previously that were just for males, because women would have been thought that they're not able or capable of doing such functions or roles. So for us, I think what is important is that women need to make sure that they are able to take up those spaces. I think I'm feeling like I'm quoting the Miss Universe at this point. But I think that is such an important and a powerful statement, because when you get that opportunity, we need to make sure that you are available yourself. And what is happening in the public sector, in the private sector, is that we have a number of policies that are coming in play, that are coming to be like to take out the gender and put in gender parity type of functions. Like if you have to look at the maternity or paternity policies or regulations, now they are giving husbands an opportunity to have longer days when their wives are having babies. And we are looking at, and I think Bathabile will talk to that about once a month to give women days off whenever they're experiencing the time of the month. So it's those functions that we are making sure that women are being accommodated in the workplace. Women are given the tools and the responsibility similar to the males. And I mean, if you have to look and say whether is it a gender gender type of a role in the workplace, that one does not really work anymore. We've seen a number of women taking responsibilities on jobs that are in technical roles. We're seeing a number of males are taking jobs that are previously were maybe thought to be for women. So for as we are moving forward, and I think I think I'm making such a great example, because I never really thought I'll be able. I'll be a CEO ever in my life because of the qualification that I studied. I studied human resources, and human resources throughout my career. I was told you are an overhead, you just you're not strategic enough, you are more of a soft type of a function that you are doing. But I was able to break those glass ceilings. Not easy, obviously. I was able to make sure that I can run an organization. I can, as a human resources practitioner, I am able to understand financial capital investment for a business, driving leadership and strategy of the organization. So, and I think it's important that we take our responsibilities as well. When you get that opportunity, do not squander it. Make sure that the people behind you are there to support you. You have the support system, and unfortunately, that's the nature of how the world is designed. That as women, you have to be thinking about your household, you have to think about the job, and you have to make sure that you are able to make all of this work together.
Yeah. Talk to us, Bathabile. How are you, especially being a coach, how are you disrupting the business world? How are you coaching others? What are you telling them that would disrupt and, in a sense, spur them to create more opportunities for other young women, other young girls to come into the space and also participate?
All right, thank you so much. So for me, I think what I've been very vocal on, even just on my private social space, is that, as women, we're always thinking that we can all do by ourselves. We don't have to do all by ourselves. Let's reach out for help. When you start a business, you don't have to go through the struggle that another entrepreneur started. If there's funding, reach out on funding. If there's training, reach out on those trainings. Get those opportunities, because we need businesses that can employ people so that you can now have that a little bit of free time to attend to other matters. Remember, as a woman, it's not only about business. It's business, it's family, and our families, remember, is extended to, other neighbors, so to say, get funding, get that compliance in order so that you can access funding, get mentorship. Training and mentorship is very big. It plays a big role in the business. Don't do everything by yourself. Join the women's club. You know how women join the societies.
Yes.
Be religious, be intentional. Join those mentorship. Commit. Give yourself time to say, what, I'm intentional. I'm gonna commit, because this is how the business works. The business does not only work when you are alone. This thing of women only choosing, I'll start Kota and Magunya. It needs to come to an end. There's nothing wrong to starting Kota and Magunya business, but they're not sustainable. They cannot scale up enough. Let's look into what are the funders funding. If funding is there for tracking, you don't have to have the technical know-how when you start. I started in franchising. I knew nothing about franchising. When I opened my business, I got funding. I had 14 staff compliments. I learned on the job. So as women, we have the capacity. We have, all the strength that we can learn on the job. It doesn't matter the background, whether you're in the rural areas or in the township. Let's not limit our capabilities as women. So let's get in touch. Let's go out there and reach out to other people. And the other thing is that once you are inside, don't only limit your table. Open doors to others. Bring other women, teach other women, educate other women, because that's how you also grow as a person. That's how you also grow as in business. It's through by also sharing. Look how Bomama Charlotte Matrange did it. They didn't just leave it to say, no, the other generations, you'll see how it's done. So we all need to be intentional as women to say, let's not only do it for ourselves, but let's do it for all our communities.
I had a conversation yesterday with women in politics. Quite interesting conversation that came out in the middle of what we're talking about. One of the guests said, well, we don't want rules to be changed in order to accommodate us as women. We want to play with the same rules, but be given the space to play with the same rules. Where do you sit on that debate, Zinhle?
I do support that, because sometimes, it's about a personal feeling of a person. I would not want to be given an opportunity because I'm a woman. I want to be given an opportunity because I'm capable and I have the capability of delivering that function. So, because sometimes you don't want to feel like you were given this function because you are a woman, but you were given that job or function or that business because you are capable, because you can deliver, because you have capabilities and you have the skills and the training that you need to deliver on what you have decided to do for yourself. So it's important that we take charge. I think for me it's about that. Take charge of whatever opportunity that you get, whatever role, or whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are in business, whether you are an employee, whatever opportunity that you are given. For me, it's a build up to the next function. It's you learn, you unlearn, you grow. There's so many opportunities that you and that you can do. And I think do not close yourself up. I think Bathabile was talking to that. Don't close yourself. A lot of young kids, I deal with a lot of graduates in my function.
Yeah.
And what I see is that you have this mentality to say, this is what I have studied. This is what I have studied. This is what I need to be doing as a function. But that's not where you're going to end up in life. Whether, we all thought when you're doing your management, you thought you're going to come in and be a manager. Whether you start as a receptionist, you get that opportunity, do that job to your best of your capability and your ability. Immerse yourself. Resilience is important for me. And have the grit, the grit and this feeling that you have this fire burning inside of you to say, what I'm currently doing, I'm going to do it the best way that I can, and I'm going to learn. I'm going to just accumulate all of this learning and growth and apply it in your next job. So for me, that's what I feel like about that statement. And I think, I'm not sure about in politics, but in business, when I think maybe in the earlier years of BEE, a lot of people were given roles and responsibilities because of their race and agenda. But things are changing.
Yeah.
And in fact, not even changing, they have changed. The landscape.
Okay, some challenges there in that connection. But let's give you a chance to tackle that. I mean, the question is, should the rules be changed to accommodate women, or the rules should not be changed, but at least women should be allowed to compete in their own strength and in their own capability?
We don't need to change the rules, but we need to acknowledge the fact that women are still facing a lot of challenges. Remember, when we're in the cities, women in the cities and women in the rural areas, we don't have the same opportunities. So it's going to be so unfair. Like now we've got technical clinch. Yeah. So how about the women in the rural areas who you must say they must apply online of these opportunities? You don't change the rules, but you enable the other women to access. If you've got an opportunity, don't only limit it to online. Let's acknowledge to say, technology in South Africa is in different phases. So in the rural areas, give them the opportunity to apply physical, not online. Yeah. So you're not changing the rules, but you're enabling other women to be able to participate. If you are doing a training in Pretoria, how about trying to enable those men from rural areas to have taxi fare and accommodation? Yes. You are not really changing the rules, but you are giving them support. So for me, I'll say the rules are the same, but let's enable, women to access opportunities, because we know the situations of women. We are not at the point where women in South Africa are equal to the male counterparts. Yeah. So even in business, we need to look into such to say, how can we just make other people access? Because it's pointless to have these wonderful opportunities, but the women are still shortfall to access them.
Okay, before we lose you completely on that line, let me put this question to you. How do we in corporate South Africa protect women from the patriarchal practices that seemingly when they thrive, they are victimized? Right. So we're hearing, for example, a lot of women who come here, and we saw many of them as well also during the Zondo Commission, who said we were given these responsibilities. When we were doing what we were supposed to be doing, then we were victimized.
Yeah, that's a difficult question because I can only talk from a personal perspective on this one. And I was in one of the women events in August, we all participating, and this discussion came up. And I sometimes I've had similar experiences in my career where I have made mistakes, if I may put it that way. But then I had to sit back and do some accountability and say, what is it that I have done? How have I made this person react the way that they have and treated me the way that they have, so that I can take some accountability. I think it's important that we do that and not just be externally saying because of this has happened to me, because I'm a woman or I'm ethical. Yes, you're ethical, but then you look at the environment and say, what is it that, what ownership, what things are you going to take ownership of and how are you going to correct them? That's number one. Number two, honest conversation. For me, they are really, really important, because when you're having those honest conversations with individuals that are not, sometimes, yes, it will be backfire, but you're going to feel like, this person has hurt me, because I've had those as well, and I have brought people in to say, what you're doing, this is how I'm receiving it, and I do not like it, and it's impacting me in this manner, and it's impacting the way I do my job, and in most of the time where I have worked, it has helped me. And the individual that I had those discussions with have come back to me to say, Zinhle, thank you so much for doing that. I had no idea, because sometimes people have paraclavers. They're not, they're not seeing in their peripheral vision. They're just focused on what they're not seeing, what their actions are doing to the next people. So it's important that we have these honest discussions and we have these honest conversations, and whether a person comes back and treats you and possibly you lose your job, but you will know that that person at some point in their lives, they're going to look in hindsight and say, Zinhle was correct, because we're all here to learn. We're all here to serve for our families and make sure that our families are able to put bread on the table. So that's where I can
take accountability, but also have honest and open conversations. But Bathabile, your space that you're in, for example, the industries that you've mentioned, trucking, franchising, construction, and so on and so forth. When you thrive, you're competing with men, and in some instances it might even become dangerous. Not only would you become victimized, but it could lead to dangerous situations. How do you protect yourself against that?
To be honest, it's difficult in business, it's not only in those industries, even in the food industry, it's very difficult as a woman, because there's only limited resources that you can put in place to protect yourself. You need to drive out there this time of the night and go to the mining industry for size assessment, whatever responsibility that you have, so you cannot now be driving with bodyguards. It won't be even affordable, for your business to carry those costs. So unfortunately, it's one of those that there is nothing much that you can do. You can only just put certain measures, ensure that your car has tracker, you alert people that you work with, if maybe you'll be working at night, have people that you speak to, whether it's your mentor. It's very important that in business, it's not only about the security, but even just for advices, because sometimes a project can go wrong. The risk of a project is not only on the safety side, it's risk in terms of mismanaging the funds, so it's very important that you have those people that you can just have a call, people that have walked the journey for advices, so that you can even manage those risks, physical risks that can be involved in the project, so that at least by the time you start, you are aware, to say what will be happening. Sometimes it's long hours as well. Remember fatigue. When you are tired, sometimes you're not driving properly because you are tired. As a human being, not that because you are a woman, but you are tired, the body will be telling you. So those are the things to say. Have proper structures in your business. Don't wait for the business to be formal or for the business now to be thriving to put those measures. As small as your business is, treat it like a business that is big. Because that's where it's going to be. Once you don't have those measures at an early stage, already you set yourself to be under pressure, in business. And remember, you've got limited resources as you're starting. So it's very, very important that you get into those mentorship sessions. You know, you speak to people that have been in business.
Yeah.
You know, knock on those doors. Sometimes people are just scared to even do a research. Go to the people. You know, people will be telling you, no, I can't go to the people. People are busy. It's assumptions. People have not even knocked, but they'll be telling you 1,000 reasons why they cannot go and speak to a certain business person. Whether the person you see them on TV or you hear them on radio, people have a chance, gives themselves time to talk to other people, you know. Yeah. But you can only get that once you knock, and don't only knock once. You know, persistence, plays a very role to get what you need.
Fantastic. All right, we're out of time. Let's leave it there for tonight. Much appreciated. Thank you both for coming on. Zinhle, thank you very much for joining us and joining us there on that. As the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, CEO Zinhle Tyikwe and Bathabile Moreki, business coach and mentor, joining us here in the studio.